Well, hello and welcome to Raj Sabha TV. You're watching Discussion today with your host, Rajat Kain. In this episode, we'll discuss the government's push for digital inclusion. Now, move which has been aggressively pursued by the government in a bid to transform several sectors, leading to public good. Addressing this year's India Mobile Congress, the Prime Minister underlined his vision to promote Atmanirbhar Bharat, digital inclusivity and sustainable development, entrepreneurship as well as innovation. Prime Minister Modi gave a call to work together to make India a global hub for telecom equipment, design, development and manufacturing. Just last month, the government had come up with a performance-linked incentive initiative aimed at transforming the domestic manufacturing sector and, importantly, the mobile phone segment. So how will the push for digital inclusion transform governance and our lives? To discuss further on this very important issue, we're joined with two important guests, Lieutenant General Dr. S.P. Kochhar, is DG Cellular Operations Association of India, and Ms. Sadhna Dixit. She is former member finance from Telecom Commission. Well, ma'am and sir, many thanks for joining us. Let me begin with you, Ms. Dixit. At the outset, how important do you think the digital transformation is for governance? Just at the outset, just to explain to our viewers the significance of the digital transformation.
This is 25 years since the introduction of mobile telephony in India. It's in 1995 that we began, and over this 25-year period, we have come a very long way. We have seen that in this time of COVID, the importance of telecommunication and connectivity has reflected many times.
Right.
In manifold, in several areas. And the government itself has given a push to the programs, the flagship programs, Digital India, the Smart City program, the Atma, the newly introduced program of Atmanirbhar Bharat. These are all, and digital inclusion, financial inclusion. Now, these are very important areas in which telecommunication plays a significant role. It's the backbone. I would say it's the backbone for incorporating these programs. Governance in India it automatically translates into that, the services which are provided. And when we are talking also about the single window concept, several of the services which are provided both at the local level, in remote villages itself also, say the land, the property papers, the land deals, the mandi rates, and a whole lot, plus the transactions, the financial transactions that are taking place, the Aadhaar verification and in fact, interestingly, the Prime Minister has also spoken about the role of telecommunications in the vaccination program that will take place for COVID. And the very presence of the Honorable Prime Minister for this Mobile India Congress, he has highlighted several of the issues where the telecommunications will play a significant role. So he has talked about the broadband, proliferation of broadband. He has talked about broadband reaching all the villages within the next 3 years, creation of more wireless Wi-Fi hotspots. He has also spoken about sustainability issues in the sense that when we are talking about creation of e-waste, that dealing with that e-waste also has to be taken cognizance of. So there are several, then he has even mentioned that we are looking at introduction of 5G. Another push that government has given is about the PLI.
We have seen in the COVID era, there has been transformation in several spheres. The way we work, the work culture, and the way we approach certain subjects. Now, do you envisage in near future, I mean, our world will be more packed with digital inclusion? We'll be relying more and more on digital equipments or digital way of living, as Ms. Dixit just pointed out, several digital initiatives in terms of the banking transaction, and as well as our vision of having the vaccine for COVID being supplanted by digital initiatives as well?
Yeah, Rajat, that's a very good question. Actually, COVID has acted as a catalyst. And it has actually hastened the process of showing that how important is digital connectivity and how important it is for people to remain connected digitally.
Right.
If COVID was not there, hypothetically, it would have happened. It would have happened with the type of congestion and the type of environmental problems that India is facing. We would have gone digital anyway, but it would have taken much more time. But because of COVID, it has been proven that telecom has become a horizontal sector. It is no longer a vertical. In the last 6 months, it has been proven without doubt that telecom is an essential service. It is as good as water and electricity. Today's life without telecom cannot be envisaged. Another thing which has come about is that there have been huge savings actually because of this enforced work from home and working remotely. Efficiencies have gone up. Enforced savings are there. There are always problems also, but these are the things which have which are the positives. One thing which stands out is that despite all constraints, the telecom sector rose to the occasion and kept the country connected.
Right.
There was a huge upsurge of almost 30% of data, and our networks coped with it. And I'm glad to say the governments were cooperating with us, with the telecom, so-called telecom warriors, to ensure that the telecom networks remain alive. And the telecos worked overtime to see that the right type of services were provided to the citizenry. So with this as an experience in the last 6 months, I'm sure that digital inclusiveness has to stay. Digital connectivity is the first part of it. There are other aspects which will follow, right? So first thing is we must have huge capacities of networks. Today, we are connected, only about 50% of our population is connected onto the networks through mobiles. What happens when 100% gets connected?
Right.
Who's going to handle data? Our networks in the present form will not be able to handle. So this is what the telecom industry has been crying hoarse, that we have to improve our networks. We have to improve the densification of our networks. We have to improve the capacity of our networks. We have to include more and more people. Okay, in urban areas, our tele-density is 130%, but in rural areas, it is just 49%. It has to increase. Smart devices are going to come up. Now, with smart devices coming up in everybody's hands, the data created is going to be huge. New sectors are going to get opened up.
Yeah.
So these are vistas which are staring us in the eye, and that is why 5G becomes important.
Yeah.
And to roll out 5G by a telecom industry which is already bleeding financially, there is a huge amount of support which is required by the government. I can talk about it now, or we can speak when you ask me another question on this.
Sure.
Whichever you like.
Right. Well, that's your opinion that how the telecom industry is currently shaped right now. That gets to you, Ms. Sadhna Dixit, like you were just mentioning about the performance-linked incentives. Now, let me just ask a question in conjunction with what Lieutenant General Kochhar was just saying. So, with the PLI initiative, whereby there will be incentives for certain sectors, and telecom sector happens to be among the ones which has been chosen in the PLI, will that push improvement in the performance of sector, and especially will it address the concern as raised by Lieutenant General Kochhar?
To a large extent, it would, at least in the availability of equipment.
Right.
And when we talk about this proliferation of broadband and the available inclusiveness, when we talk about inclusiveness, availability of services to the entire population, then that means there should be affordable equipment also, telephone, handsets available with them. Now that would be possible to a large extent if these are manufactured within the country.
Right.
So this push and that would this PLI scheme will benefit both in terms of the increased enhanced manufacturing of telecom gear, plus it would also lead to exports. It is also likely to increase the create job employments. So it would create more jobs also. So it has a manifold effect on the economy as well. I think it would of course 5G for bringing in the 5G. There are several issues which are there which need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And those I think could be discussed at some other time.
Absolutely.
But very, very quickly, it can be mentioned, say, like there are issues of spectrum, both in terms of pricing and quantity of it. There are right-of-ways issues, the use cases, special use cases which are to be there. But interestingly, and it's a good thing that one is finding that even with 4G presently, which is there, use cases are coming up. The COVID situation has actually triggered those special use cases. And even before the 5G comes, I think we will see a spurt in those, and which is likely to benefit the 5G and make it viable. Make it viable. Of course, finance, the structure, the sector does require a better financial health. Because right now the AGR issue is there, the spectrum payments are due. But we have seen that the increase in data is improving the ARPUs of the sector. But the business model also maybe has to undergo a change. From the ARPU, it needs to shift. And we see that there has been a drastic change in the usership of the mobile telephones.
Yes.
The population which is there, it is reaching out to the rural population as well, and the people at the bottom of the pyramid also are making very good use of this technology. And I think we played a very major role in this time of COVID, where everything is going on virtually. And we have stayed connected. We have ensured that businesses have continued. So I think the telecom has a very meaningful role to play. The sector needs to be nurtured, I would say.
Right. Well, absolutely. Let me, Kochhar, here, the moot question here is that if we talk of the PLI and vis-a-vis telecom sector, how big an opportunity for the telecom sector, as well as, let me add, the core manufacturing sector. If we combine the both, how big an opportunity do you see in the performance-linked incentive initiatives?
The rollout of telecom depends on multiple factors in multiple segments. One of the segment is rollout of telecom in the networks, and the second one is the devices.
Right.
Like Sadhna ji said very rightly, that by giving incentives, this is one way of attracting people to make an India. Even otherwise, if you see geopolitically, we work in telecom, we work on standards. So all our equipment is standards based, which is internationally accepted. And hence it is interoperable with any equipment made anywhere in the world. Right? Therefore, since it is on standards, technically it is safe. But where the price differential comes is in the size of the market and the labor in the country which manufactures. That is where the price differential comes. If the cheap labor market is kept aside for a moment, for whatever reason, then obviously if the same business models continue with other manufacturers, they will have higher cost of manufacturing. And hence, our rollouts will become expensive. So the market inclination will be for them to shift marketing base into India, where the cost of labor is cheap. In addition to that, the government of India has a PLI scheme, so they get better incentives. So it is bound to happen that manufacturing is going to come up in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat is bound to happen for telecom sector. But important, you must see that while we are doing this, we don't lose sight of economic scale. Economies will only come if we manufacture as per laid down standards which are acceptable internationally, so that we don't only manufacture for India, we manufacture for the entire world. And because of scales, the prices for rollout in India become much lower. Now, if you see 5G, Sadhna ji has said that there is use cases. Yes, there are spattering of use cases which are looking us in the eye. But those use cases are not sufficient for rolling out 5G with the type of capex that is required. But industry is keen to roll out 5G because it sees, but in very distant future, it sees massive amount of use cases coming up in the form of Industry 4.0, in the form of IoT, AI, AR, VR. So what 5G will bring is, for the first time in the world, machine-to-machine communication. And hence, huge amount of data, huge amount of connectivity is required. But in a country like India, there has to be different market segments. It can't be a uniform rollout entire country because the requirements say in a densified urban area where there's a lot of industry, it requires more of capacity and less of reach. But in a rural area, it is the other way around. It requires reach and less of capacity, and there will be areas in between somewhere. So there will be islands of different flavors of 5G coming up, which have to be interconnected. And what she rightly said is we don't have to go in for a 5G standalone. We should go in for a non-standalone 5G with rights over 4G, so that 5G then grows along with the market demand and the ROI is coming. But having said that, there is still a requirement to build a robust foundation. Like I said in my previous answer, telecom is a foundation sector. The foundation has to be robust. Only then the other industry can grow on that. And that robustness will come if the government starts looking at it in that manner and it starts extracting levies, fees, taxes, whatever, at a lesser amount. And then looks at telecom to grow other industries from where secondary revenue will come, which will far exceed what telecom could have given.
Right.
So don't stop telecom. Look at it in a differential way. Look at it like electricity. Look at it like water. It has to reach. It should be sung. It should not happen that we roll out 5G for the name of 5G. We should roll out something which is strong and solid and sustainable and which is secure. That requires money. And money means that then the government has to see that the levies are accordingly reduced, at least for the period it cures. And then it can look at it again. Spectrum is, yes, one big chunk of money. Technically also, spectrum, the type of spectrum which is required by industry is today not available. Fortunately, the government of India has taken steps to see that at least 3.3 to 3.6 gets rationalized and the right type of spectrum is likely to be made available. Okay, so these are some of the things the government of India is doing. But there are some roadblocks where headway has to be made in a little different manner. One of the specific examples I will give is the ROT charges, right-of-way charge. The government of India has laid down in its guideline that the right-of-way charge should not be more than 10,000 rupees per kilometer for fiberization, which is so essential for telecom sector. There are cities in India which are charging 1.5 crores per kilometer. There are others 1 crore per kilometer. So there is no uniformity despite central government guidelines on this. So fortunately, DOT seized of this problem and they're working 24/7 to see that this gets resolved.
Right.
Once resolved, then the backbone will get fiberized. And once the fiberization backhaul is there, then no matter what type of access we get, we can aggregate it and take it over the backhaul. That will give us the type of connectivity that the user desires, affordable and quality of service.
Right, Mr. Kochhar. Let me just go off to Ms. Dixit. Ma'am, as we come to the close of the program, unfortunately, we're running a little short of time. Just to ponder our thought, like, are there roadblocks in the telecom sector, something like which can actually help us grow other sectors as well, and how the government should address these sectors, if at all there are roadblocks?
I won't actually call them roadblocks. I would say that any sector needs to be continuously, if it's a growing sector, if it's a vibrant sector, a constant review is always needed. So likewise in telecom also, a constant review is needed. Now, I feel that spectrum is very essential for the sector.
Right.
Spectrum has been earlier, spectrum, it was administratively allocated, and with the auctions coming into picture, there is a case where we could look at the license fees. Once the auction takes place of spectrum, there is a case for taking a relook at the license fees, the percentage at which we are levying that. That is one area. The second area which was mentioned is about the right-of-way issue. I think central government has taken a lot of initiative for that, but unfortunately, it is still not taken shape. TRI also has addressed it. The ministry also has addressed it, but unfortunately, that is not getting redressed, and that impacts on the creation of the infrastructure and the connectivity and loss of connectivity which takes place often because of the right of way not being and the towers not being, the infrastructure not being in place. So that is another issue. Important issue is about the security and privacy issues. That also needs to, and especially with so much of data moving around between machines and across. So I think that we need to have a robust mechanism in place to ensure that these are, and especially with both in terms of financial transactions, large number of those taking place, it is important that we address that as well. I think these are some of the issues which need to be addressed.
Well, we'll leave it there. Many thanks, ma'am, Ms. Sadhna Dixit, and many thanks, Lieutenant General Kochhar, for joining us and elucidating on this extremely important issue of digital inclusion and what exactly, if we talk of the telecom sector, what all perhaps can be done so as to make this sector vibrant and grow further, which also aids other sectors of the economy. Well, many thanks for joining us and watching discussion today. Thank you.